All right, sharing my screen. And then we are going to present. And there we go. Okay, so going to the next. All right, I think we're ready to start. Do we want to introduce ourselves?
Sure. I'm Cassidy.
I'm Liz.
I'm Emily.
I'm Mariah.
And I'm Christy.
All right, let's go ahead and get started, guys.
So, today we are here to discuss the importance of maintaining a separate teen services department in our library and why combining it with children's services into a youth department could have significant drawbacks. We will be sharing some insights based on current library practices and research to highlight the unique needs of teen library services. The library is currently considering combining these services under a single youth department. While this may seem like an efficient solution, it risks overlooking the distinct needs of teens who require a different approach. Teens have unique developmental, social, and intellectual needs that cannot be adequately addressed by a general youth focused model. If you want to go to the next slide. So there are multiple risks of merging teen and children's services. If teen and children's services are combined, there's a real risk that the focus will shift to programs for younger children, which doesn't resonate with the older teens. Additionally, teens may feel less engaged if they're grouped with children, as their needs and interests are vastly different. They also value having a space and services that are uniquely theirs, which could be lost in a combined model. Combining services for teens and children could have negative effects, including reduced teen engagement. Teens may disengage if their interests are ignored in favor of younger children's programming. The library could also see lower attendance as teens may look for alternative services that better meet their needs. So, dedicated teen spaces are essential for fostering social and emotional development. These spaces offer opportunities for teens to socialize, work on projects, and engage with technology in a way that speaks to their interests. Having a separate teen centered space ensures they feel comfortable and valued rather than out of place among younger children.
Teens are not excluded from the natural human desire to be accepted and feel valued. Public libraries exist as a great equalizer where all are welcome, and teens are no exception to this goal. Teens who feel valued are far more likely to continue using their library even beyond their teenage years. So the time and dedication that we give to them now will just continue to pay dividends for the library in the future. And being able to set an age restriction um, shows the teenagers that they are able to use the space as they want without having to worry about adult or younger patrons being present when they're using the space. Another way to show teens that they're valued in the library is to have a librarian that's dedicated to teen services. Through the proper education and training, a teen services librarian becomes an expert on this user group to advocate for them and their unique needs, and to create collections and programs that stay on trend and continue to serve them as they need. They can also serve as mentors for other library staff on how to best serve the teens and overall serve as a positive adult presence in the lives of the teen patrons that utilize the library.
So, one of the main problems at the library is that teen events are attracting tweens and not actually teens. Programs often come across as too young, too rigid, or disconnected from teens' real lives. Augusto points out that relevance and authenticity start with teen input. If teens aren't involved, they tune out. Shinton and Dixon found that teens want autonomy and peer influence, not another adult led environment.
Other challenges of team participation we have noticed are the reduced use of resources, feelings of discomfort in the library, and the library's staff's inaccurate perception of teens. With the rise of technology and social media, many teens are bypassing librarians altogether, opting instead to seek information online. This shift can reduce their interaction with library staff and services and show us that media and technology have to play a part in our services and programs. Cultural disconnect also presents barriers, particularly for teens from diverse backgrounds who may feel the library staff lack the cultural competence to engage with them effectively. To address this, services and programs must reflect and respond to distinct needs, interests, and identities of the communities they serve. Perhaps the most significant obstacle is the persistence of negative or inaccurate perceptions of teens among some staff. For example, teens are sometimes asked to leave for being too loud, reinforcing the idea that they are unwelcome in library spaces. These experiences contribute to a broader feeling among teens that they are not respected, valued, or fully understood within the library environment.
So we have to remember that teens are a unique demographic. According to the IFLA, teenagers are defined as users between the ages of 12 and 18. They live complex lives, balancing schoolwork and family obligations. They seek independence and want to engage in activities that reflect their growing autonomy. To effectively engage them, we need programs that offer leadership opportunities, career exploration, and creative projects, as stated by Braun.
Despite the challenges of teen participation, there is clear evidence that they continue to engage with public libraries in meaningful and unique ways. For instance, 78% of teens currently hold library cards, a strong indicator that they recognize the value of maintaining access to library resources. Even if they do not regularly attend programs or events, the simple act of holding a card reflects a level of awareness and a connection to what the library offers. Library use remains particularly strong among older teens, with 72% of 16 to 17-year-olds reporting that they use public libraries. This challenges the common misconception that libraries primarily serve young children or families with small children, and instead highlights the relevance of libraries to teens. National trends also show a rise in teen participation in library programs, signaling a growing interest in services and events tailored specifically to teens and young adults. It is currently estimated that approximately 51.8 million teens are actively engaging with library services across the U.S., underscoring both the research and the potential of teen-focused initiatives in the public library system. Teens as a unique demographic reflects how they are using and engaging with the library. Teens are borrowing books and other printed materials for both academic and personal growth, receiving help with school assignments, they study in the library, they seek support for independent or personal needs, and access college and career information. Teens are using their spaces not only for reading and relaxing, but also for socializing with peers, participating in recreational and entertainment-based activities, and simply as a safe and welcoming place to spend time. These spaces are critical in helping teens feel that the library is a place where they belong. By recognizing how teens are already using library services and spaces, and by applying best practices and established guidelines, we can develop more intentional, relevant, and impactful programs. This approach will allow us to better meet the evolving needs of young adults and create a library environment that truly supports their development and interests. To develop effective programs and services for teens, it is essential to consider how they are using the library and align our efforts with the goals and guidelines established by the International Federation of Library Associations and Institutions, IFLA, to ensure that library services remain inclusive, relevant, and impactful for young adults. For teen services, libraries should offer a dedicated space that supports the transition from children's to adult services, one that is intentionally designed to meet the developmental, social, and emotional needs of teens. In addition, services should address a broad spectrum of interests, including educational, informational, cultural, and recreational needs. Libraries must also actively promote literacy, lifelong learning, information literacy, and a love of reading through thoughtfully designed resources and programming. When designing teen programs, it is critical to reflect the unique needs interests, and lived experiences of young people. Programs should involve teens at every stage of development, from initial planning to final delivery, to ensure they are authentic and meaningful. Most importantly, teens should be empowered through opportunities to participate in decision making, planning, and implementation. This sense of agency fosters deeper engagement and helps teens feel valued as contributors to the library community. By following these principles, libraries can create dynamic, youth-centered services that not only meet the needs of today's teens, but also build lasting connections that support their growth and development into adulthood. Before thinking about unique programming, we must think about how libraries engage teens as active partners and collaborators when creating programs and services that reflect their unique needs and interests. Today's teens are increasingly seeking greater ownership of their library experience, particularly in the areas of program development. By involving teens in shaping services and developing programs that align with their interests, we foster a sense of ownership, ensuring relevance, boosting participation, and reducing the risk of low or no attendance. Including teens in the planning process should be recognized as a form of participation in itself. This involvement builds critical skills such as leadership, collaboration, and problem solving, skills that align closely with the library's broader mission to support personal and educational growth.
So teens are drawn to programming that speaks to their career aspirations, creative outlets, and interests. Career development workshops, creative workshops, and virtual programming are essential for keeping teens engaged. As highlighted by Braun, these types of dynamic offerings help libraries stay relevant and exciting for modern teens. The library has been operating using a dated model of services. Program ideas are currently being thought of by librarians and submitted for approval. Teens want to be active participants in the development of library programs and spaces. Because our programs intended for teens have been created by librarians and not teens, our attendance has been low. If we allow teens to share their voices, attendance is likely to increase. They don't just want to attend programs, they want to create them. Having a separate teen services department ensures their voices are heard through things like advisory boards and feedback sessions. In a combined youth department, this vital input is at risk of being lost. Across the U.S., public libraries are increasingly becoming community hubs for teens, offering a wide range of engaging programs that support creativity, learning, and social development. For example, the Rochester Public Library has seen a notable rise in teen engagement through its summer reading program. Popular activities like Dungeons and Dragon Nights and Teen Movie Mondays have helped draw teens in by blending literacy with fun and social connection. At the McDowell Public Library, teens are taking ownership of their space by decorating the library themselves for the summer reading program, fostering creativity and giving them a sense of agency. Huntley Public Library offered a teen yoga event showing how libraries are supporting teen wellness and stress management, not just academics. And for teens who can't always make it into a physical branch, LA County Library offers DIY library programs where teens can access activity kits or ideas from home, making participation more inclusive and flexible. These programs show how libraries are adapting to the needs and interests of today's teens, going beyond just books to provide relevant, engaging, and accessible experiences.
Furthermore, continuing to use one of our greatest resources in creating quality programs for teens is by looking at what has been successful in other libraries. So in addition to the ones previously mentioned, so the Chicago Public Library hosts a Gamers Universe, which is a gaming convention that is organized by a Teen Gamers Guild. So there you have an event that is not only started by teens and run by teens, it's just hosted there at the library. The Toronto Public Library provides teenagers with volunteer programs such as literacy for adults in reading, writing, and math, and then also one-on-one tutoring for younger children. And then in the San Antonio Public Library, multiple branches host Teen Times, and this is a time and space that's dedicated to teens, and teen volunteers decide on the activities for each meeting, and they pretty much run all of those things. And they also have what they call Adulting 101 programs, and each event will focus on some sort of different topic to help teens prepare for adulthood. For example, some upcoming ones are cooking classes or career and future planning, so that they can really have programs that are going to serve them beyond their teenage years.
To go off of going through, sorry, to go off of new programming that could increase participation in the teen spaces is by completely transforming the teen space into a makerspace. Now, what exactly is a makerspace? To quote directly from the literature, a makerspace is considered a place where informal, collaborative learning and discovery take place through hands-on creation via use of any combination of art and technology. These spaces facilitate both analog and digital creation. There's a heavy emphasis in the makerspace on STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. The maker movement provides 21st century skills that contribute to new forms of literacy, which include exposure to various types of technology, problem solving, and collaboration skills. Exploring traditional and digital media, interacting with mentors and peers, and engaging in creative projects is the foundation of a makerspace. To create, to innovate, and to collaborate are the foundations. Team-centered project-based learning by making and through mentorship. The act of making encourages a deeper engagement with content, critical thinking, problem solving, and collaboration, while also sparking curiosity in this new technology. Completely transforming this teen space would create an environment in which a library remains technologically relevant to teens. We are now in an age where teens use their phones for everything and can access the internet pretty easily from these devices. We're also in an age where teens are provided computers for the most part in school. So the access to internet and Wi-Fi and desktop computers in a teen space is no longer as relevant to teens in most communities for the most part. So this makerspace would have access to technology that teens normally wouldn't have access to at home or even in their own school. What libraries can concentrate on is providing value-added technology that is software and hardware teens may not have access to at home. And this is equipment made available in a way that facilitates their creativity, meaning they can create things that they want to create. Experimentation with technology they may have never seen before or have the opportunity to see it in any place but this makerspace. Active participation within the space and with the people in the space and be able to play with the technology. Makerspaces provide a range of tools and materials that include various types of electronics, coding systems, power tools, which can be sewing machines or drills, mechanical hardware like screwdrivers, or various other tools like hammers and wrenches, iron soldering and woodworking. There's also other digital fabrication technologies such as 3D printers, 3D cutters, there's laser cutters, sorry. And sorry, I missed 3D scanning, audio and video capture, editing tools, and traditional arts and crafts supplies. Robotics, wood carving machines, and other coding services are also in the makerspace. And then, sorry, I lost the makerspaces are also intended to allow minorities, underserved, and underrepresented populations like women or people with disabilities to become involved with technology in fields they may have not previously considered because of a lack of access or opportunity. Now, within the makerspace, it's important that the adults and the peers are able to navigate this space without intruding on the teens. In the age of makerspaces and the rush to focus on equipment, libraries must not lose sight of service context for the use of technology by teens. Even with all the tech and tools at the teens' disposal, library staff should still be there to help facilitate and be of service to the teens that walk into the space. instead of focusing on teens freely using the technology in there, it's still important to have staff present to help out and be of service. As technology is swiftly offering new opportunities, libraries must not become so enamored with the gadgets that we fail to recognize that makerspace activities are essentially traditional activities but accomplished in new ways. Peer mentorship is a foundational aspect of the makerspace, so the way in which adults and mentors navigate within the space is of the utmost importance when it comes to running a successful makerspace. It is the duty of the adults and mentors to guide the teens in the space and not put their own interests above the teams. The space should remain user-driven and take the interests of the teens using the space into consideration. Adults should be supportive, not authoritative. Although peer mentorship is foundational, it is important to still let teens freely use equipment and be experimental within the space. Now, how to get started. It may seem as though it's difficult to create a makerspace and start from scratch, but the American Library Association website has a page dedicated to various types of resources for libraries to start the process of creating their own makerspace. There is a substantial amount of information within this link, and things like how to get started, legal issues, programming and STEAM education, and various examples of makerspaces and media labs around the country are free to access. Examples include an artist in residence makerspace in the Madison Public Library System. That's an art-focused makerspace featuring an artist in residence programming. And then there's also a focus on how to better be of use to rural libraries. Sorry, I cannot say that word. The Nebraska Library Commission and the University of Nebraska are partnering to launch makerspaces in rural libraries throughout the state using a grant from the Institute of Museum and Library Services. Another example would be a mobile service, which an example of this is a San Jose Public Library's 39-foot mobile makerspace focused on their community schools and underserved areas. And then a digital media lab example would be from the Chicago Public Library System, which is a teen-focused digital learning space with 12 locations throughout the Chicago Public Library System. The vast amount of information on this page provides libraries with all the necessary resources and answers to concerns that library staff may have when trying to create a makerspace from scratch. In conclusion, the makerspace movement would be beneficial to a public library and this would increase participation with teens because it's a completely different model compared to other ones, and in an age where technology is key, this would increase teen participation.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Okay, so now we are going to address the current Teen Advisory Board. Currently, our library relies on the Teen Advisory Board to elicit ideas from teens. However, as administration has pointed out, participation by teens in the Teen Advisory Board has been spotty at best, and recruiting or even simply sustaining members is challenging. Looking at the Teen Advisory Board through a research-based lens, we can see that because the Teen Advisory Board's ideas are subject to approval by the administration before teen libraries may implement them as programs for the teens, there has been less overall engagement. Before I move into possible suggestions, I want to very briefly explain the definition of advisory. In the shortest possible terms, advisory could be defined as having the power to make recommendations without having the power to enforce them. In general, teens do not successfully function in an advisory capacity. And added to that, by keeping an advisory group, our library is preserving the role of the librarian as the implementer or presenter of teen programming, when in reality, as Jennifer Velasquez mentions in her book, Real World Teen Services, teen programs should be implemented by teens, not for teens. When we are the sole implementers, we have to ask ourselves the question, what power do teens actually have in our library? So after some careful consideration and examining the best possible programming for teens based on many decades of research that has been conducted, we are recommending that rather than keeping the current Teen Advisory Board, we will implement a new and improved teen leadership group. Wording matters, and so does providing the basis of leadership skills for teens in the library. When implementing the programs that they will be involved in, teens deserve the freedom to lead rather than simply advise. And we, as librarians, should only serve the needs of teens as facilitators when it comes to their unique needs and programming. Not only that, but when teens have the opportunity to lead and think of ideas based on their own interests, they are gaining real-world experience and can learn the importance of working together. The process of planning is truly a teen program in that of itself. This leadership group will give teens more power and autonomy over the programs that they are becoming involved with. Looking back to the literature, Velasquez says, when teens suggest an activity and are put fully in charge of it, they are invested in the outcome and will work towards positive results like attendance at a program, the completion of a given activity, or the creation of a product. Along with becoming more invested, having a teen leadership group will make it so teens are more likely to participate and continue to come back in order to see the program through to the end, which addresses many of our current concerns with teen participation. Hypothetically, by administering this group, teens would be able to plan and implement programming for their peers, make decision and take responsibility for the programs they create, and recommend and enforce their own ideas without requiring approval from an administration. We ask that you consider keeping teen services in our library and that you put some of your faith in not just the teen service librarians here, but in the teens as well. So we're going to switch gears just a little bit, and rather than look at the important teen programming that we've been discussing throughout this presentation so far that we should implement, we're going to focus on some of the assumptions that the administration has made about teens in the library, as well as prove that teens will show up if you do decide to keep teen services in the library separate from children's services. It has been concluded in our library administration that teens do not want specific teen programming and services in the library because they are too busy, overscheduled, involved in other extracurricular activities, have everything they need at home, care for their siblings, and/or have jobs. And while all these things can be true for some, teens still want and deserve a space that they can escape to, a place that they can interact with their peers, complete their studies without distractions, have hobbies, and more. And just because teens have lives outside of the library doesn't mean that they won't still utilize our resources. Teens have very specialized needs, which is why it is so valuable to separate teen services from children's services. One research paper states that since adolescents of the same age mature at different rates from each other, and various maturation processes can differ in speed within the same individual, it cannot be assumed that a young person who looks adult will necessarily think like one, and conversely, it cannot be assumed that an immature-looking adolescent will still think like a child. Teens are in between craving connection and finding their place in the world, while they also deal with the complexities of growing up. Teens often feel like they don't belong, which is why in the library it is important to provide a space where they can embrace their youth as well as grow into future adults. Keeping teen services allows for that, and by making assumptions and decisions about what teens want based on factors that may or may not be true, we are doing a great disservice to the teens who would still want to show up. We should not make any assumptions or conclusions about what teens want or do not want, so let's take a look at what they're actually saying. So research shows that in general, teens both want and need age-appropriate teen services in the library. One research paper that surveyed hundreds of teens at the public library in reference to teen services shows that 55% of teens like to go to the library, 67% believe that the library can meet or does meet their needs, and 41% said that they would go more if they simply just thought about it. Teens have busy lives with school, friends, family, and a lot more. Even with that, teens still enjoy coming to the library. Some come to study while others come to connect, but no matter the reasoning, we should be there for them and provide them with services catered to their needs. As we see from the data provided, over 2/5 of teens don't even think to come to the library. This proves even more why teens need unique services in the library. The teen service librarians need to get the information spread that teens are welcome and have resources just for them. They need the library to be a safe space that they can use as a tool to help themselves. And if teens have access to the information and programming that we can provide, they will keep showing up. Making assumptions not only harms the overall perceptions of teens as it shines them in a light that is not of their own making, but because of the very unique and individualized needs that many teens have, it is naive to think that one's teen truth will apply to all. Reaching my final point before I get into that final slide next, I want to address marketing and budgeting in the library since we can see that with more effort and resources, they will show up. As mentioned in the research paper regarding the public library from an early teens perspective, it says, from a library's perspective, one surmountable challenge entails placing libraries in the teens market evoked, set, and thereby obtaining top of mind awareness. We want to be on the top of these teens' minds. So let's take a look at how we can do that. So justifying keeping teen services from a budgetary standpoint. Teens are more easily marketed to in the library because, unlike children, they are able to utilize all of the resources that the library has to offer, and they can then be influenced to keep coming back into their adulthood. It is vital that libraries pay attention to the opinions of younger users if these individuals are to become long-term users of the library services. By focusing on teens, we are investing in a possibility of future adult patrons who feel comfortable as users in the library. Children are often more at the library because their parents brought them, but a lot of teens come of their own free will and often do so to see friends, study, use computers, read, and more. By keeping teen services in our library, we're making an educated investment in the future of our space. One researcher says that if libraries don't market themselves to unique groups like teens, they will become, quote, a lifeless institution that misses its aim. And this researcher also explains that librarians must take new approaches and attitudes towards actively marketing in their libraries. We could be ahead of the curve by being advocates for teens in the library. We could take advantage of the position of influence that we have in our community and continue to prove ourselves as forward thinkers who understand that the needs of teenagers are not the same as the needs of a child. I would argue that keeping teen services is worth the money and resources that we have because we are investing in our future and the future of library goers in our community. And the more advocacy that is being done for teen services and programming, the more attention and funding that could be put into it nationally. Let's not miss our aim. Instead, let's hit our target by keeping teen services in our library.
When thinking about teen services and how young people engage with the library, it is also essential and important to expand our definition of what makes a program successful. True success goes beyond traditional markers like academic achievement or rigid outcomes. Instead, it should reflect and acknowledge the diverse needs, interests, and realities of today's teens. First, success doesn't always have to be educational. While learning remains a core library value, successful teen programs can also nurture creativity, boost confidence, or simply offer a safe and welcoming space. Second, expectations should be developmentally appropriate, recognizing that teens are navigating a complex and transformative stage of life. Programs should support their evolving identities and interests rather than requiring conformity to adult-driven goals or behaviors. Third, structure is not always necessary. Unstructured or loosely structured programs can be just as meaningful as formal workshops, encouraging spontaneity, creativity, and self-direction. Fourth, flexibility is essential. Programs should accommodate different schedules, energy levels, and engagement styles. Providing options and remaining open to change helps sustain interest and participation. Finally, success isn't limited to what happens within the library's walls. Meeting teens where they are, whether in schools, parks, community centers, or online, demonstrates a library's commitment to being responsive, inclusive, and youth-centered. Thank you.